Ultra Combo!
Wanna take you for a ride. Wanna take you for a ride. Wanna take you for a ride. Wanna take you for a ride.
Give me a thumbs
Yeah.
up.
Wait,
You can't just
come
like
on.
just clicking around.
Yeah,
just,
maybe. I think.
like,
I think.
oh, by the way,
Oh, by the by.
by the way, you're starting now. People can see you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Impact Com. For us, there are 4 delectable bagel bites that Becky crafted with her bare hands. And what I mean to say is, there was a horrible freak accident, and Becky literally has bare hands now, like with the claws and everything. What? You can't see the bagel bites. Oh,
Closer or zoomed out?
bagel bites.
Yeah, like this way.
Like this?
Yeah, they don't need to see
Well,
them.
they're there. Stop. It's too late. Stop. We're committed now. There's the bagel bites. They're there. You can see them.
Yes.
With your eyeballs, with your peepers, you can see them. So, anyway.
You spoon raised it, didn't you? Right there. Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
tonight we're gonna taste these. We're going to share some stories, and we're gonna talk about a guy you may have heard of. He goes by the name Moses. If you're not familiar with the story, don't worry, we'll fill you in soon enough. Lots to say about Moses. He's a famous character in the Bible, so this will be started on anything else. Let's pray for tonight, and let's just
Already.
yeah, let's invite God into this conversation, and it's time we have to hang out. God, we thank you that you're everywhere and that you're always with us. Lord, there's no place that we can go that you can't follow us. You are always with us, and you love every single one of us in a special and unique way. And I just thank you so much, God, that you're with everybody, that you're there with them and what they're going through. You understand their pain, their struggles, and their difficulties. While we, God, while we don't always succeed in communicating with one another or talking, God, you already know our deepest thoughts and our deepest desires, and you're by our side to care for us in our deepest struggles and our times of difficulty. So Jesus, I just pray tonight that you would just encourage everyone, that you would build everybody up, Lord, and that you would just have your way. And we thank you for this, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, it's time for our mega game. So, today, will it bagel bite?
Bagel bite.
We gotta delicately split these into. Let's just go ahead and jump right in here. The first bagel we shall be partaking of is feta, the feta bagel. The feta bagel. The Baba Feta bagel, whatever we call it. This knife is not ideal for this.
Actually, I think it's the most ideal knife. You won't cut your fingers off.
That is true. I will not cut my fingers off. Although we had a friend
You're too slow.
with a butter knife,
Yeah, well, yeah.
and I accidentally cut one of my cousins with a butter knife in the mouth.
We'll see
But I don't
now.
want to talk about that one.
Wait. How did it end up in his mouth?
Not a him. It was Kiva.
Ooh.
Why so serious?
Wow,
Cut
time.
her mouth.
I've never heard this.
It was right after the Joker movie came
Obviously.
out. The original with the Batman.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yep, I cut one of my cousin's mouth open with a butter knife.
Nice on.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to the feta.
Back to, yeah.
So, go ahead and grab a slice. You can put cream cheese on. I see how it is. You can take a bite and put cream cheese on it, or you could just scarf it down. Either way,
Smells good.
smells good. So what we're doing tonight, since I'm pretty sure all of these are actually going to be good tonight, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure these are all going to be good. We're just going to rank them.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and start.
You're too slow.
That's fine.
Oh well, that's good.
Kind of butter. I want to try a little bit of cream cheese on.
I don't know if I should.
You shouldn't. Just don't let me put it in your mouth. All right. I didn't really taste the feta. Did you? Mm-hmm. Just a good bagel. You don't really taste the feta. It's just a good bagel. That's not much to say, really. On to the next one.
Why does it taste like there's bacon in there?
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds nice. Next is the coffee bagel. As you can
Ooh.
see, it's got spatters of coffee in it. This one also feels a little crunchier, a little trickier to cut. Oof.
The big oof.
I can't cut it. There we go. There it goes. Finally got it. Tough little guy. All right. The coffee bagel. Cheers.
Looks like a cinnamon roll.
Does.
Wow, that's really good.
That is good.
We didn't rate the first.
We're gonna rank them all.
Oh, okay.
Rank best to. It reminds me of that Lilo and Stitch scene. If you guys haven't seen it, Stitch like eats all these. It's like coffee cake or something like that. He just scarfs it down, and Lilo's like, "Hey!" And then he just.
Oh, that was like perfect.
It's good.
Yeah.
This is good. I didn't want to. I think I'm gonna skip the cream cheese because I just want to taste these for what they are.
Yeah, we want
I've
the base
decided.
flavor. I'd eat that again as a big bagel.
For sure.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Nice on.
Coffee almost makes it taste kind of like a I don't want to say burnt, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like a toasty flavor.
yeah.
Next is garlic and oregano. I have a feeling we'll taste this one. I don't know if you can hear her, but Holly is just being Holly. Holly is Holly. What can we say? She's a crazy, goofy dog. All right, garlic and oregano.
I think this one's gonna taste like pizza.
Good. All right.
Oh, it smells.
Oh,
like,
it smells like pizza.
It smells like pizza. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's like a breadstick. Just
Yeah.
like eating a breadstick.
Yeah. A little bit of butter to dip in, or sauce. Oh, good.
That is good. That worked really well. I think we found Jordan's favorite thus far.
Those are like little nuggets that you put in the oven. Just eat them all. Yum, yum.
That is really good. It is like a high quality breadstick.
I buy that from Pizza Hut.
Finally,
Nice
Jordan, what's
on.
our final one?
This was barbecue chip, but apparently it's peanut butter chips.
Mm-hmm.
And chocolate.
And chocolate. Peanut butter chips and chocolate.
Yeah.
So this should be interesting. They're kind of tricky to cut through. Oh,
You're too slow.
not now, Sonic.
Too slow.
Okay.
Oh, that smells good.
Oh, you can smell the peanut butter.
Wow. I'm sorry, I like everything, I guess.
It's very subtle, but it's definitely present.
Apparently I got more than. It's not subtle over here.
Oh, mine's pretty subtle.
It's super peanut buttery.
Whoops. It's really good though.
No.
Oh, there it is.
You ran into it. It's like a bite where you go, poop.
All right, Jordan. Takes a minute to chew.
That's what makes them wonderful, though.
Just doesn't make for very good commentary. All right, let's rank these. What would you give feta on a scale of 1 to 4?
I'd give feta only 4.
Okay, We'll do 1 to 10.
And we're gonna do that.
1 to 10. 1 to 10.
I give feta like a 5. It just tastes like a normal bagel.
Or should we just go ahead and just rank? Let's just rank these. What am I doing? We're drawing this out way longer than we need to. All right, coffee versus feta. I would vote coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
Okay, coffee wins.
Okay.
All right, coffee versus garlic and oregano. I don't know. You know, as much as I like the coffee, I gotta
I'm
say,
going with the garlic.
I vote for the garlic and oregano too, just because it's stronger. The flavor was much more
That's
prominent.
much more.
I liked the peanut butter chips and chocolate, but I still think the garlic and oregano wins.
Yeah.
What do you think?
If I had to pick 2, I'd probably pick garlic, oregano, and coffee.
I think you're right. I think I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
How about feta or peanut butter and
Well,
peanut butter chips? I think I'd pick that.
Yeah, we've got peanut butter, garlic, and coffee.
Coffee's your number one?
No. Garlic's number 1.
Okay. I agree with that.
And coffee, then peanut butter.
So we're in a chord.
Oh, okay.
So we've picked number 1, garlic and oregano. Number 2 is coffee. Number 3 is peanut butter, chips, and chocolate chips. And finally is feta cheese bagel. All were
Nice
pretty good,
on.
but
And the
we have
thing
a
is,
clear
there's
winner
nothing
here.
wrong with Mr. Feta. It's
Nah.
just,
What? The garlic and oregano. It tasted like really good breadsticks.
Mm-hmm.
All the others were fun.
Nice
and good,
on.
But that one it feels like something you would eat just normally,
right.
just regularly.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the Feta one. It just,
So I kind of would like the
just
coffee.
tasted like a bagel.
I could
a
kind of
good
like the coffee
bagel.
ones in the morning.
Yeah.
Just with your morning. That sounds nice. Coffee with your coffee. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You can't have enough coffee. Good bagel bites.
Yeah.
But the real winner today is us. We're the real winners.
Yes.
Because we got to enjoy delicious
Got to
bagels.
enjoy them.
And you guys didn't. So we're the real winners today. Anyways.
Bravo.
Anyways, it is now story time.
Jumping into story time.
Jumping into story time. I have a quick story. Do you have a story, Jordan?
I'm sorry.
We're bad at this. but
There's just so many stories that revolve around this. I mean, there's just so many times I do stuff like this.
we're picking.
But you seem to have a story, so
I-
we'll go with it.
I do have a story today. So, but first, before I introduce the story, I should go ahead and announce what today's theme is, the message, the topic of the day. Let's go ahead and roll that. Let's talk about today's topic.
Be cool about fire safety.
So, today's topic is we're talking about Mad Moses. That's what we're labeling this. Mad Moses. We're talking about anger. We're talking about losing ourselves, acting rashly. The emotions ride high, and you make a bad choice. So, tying into our story. I think I may have shared this story before with some of you, but just in case, here it is. When I was starting out in youth ministry, I didn't feel much like a youth pastor at first. I felt like the students were very close to my age, even though I was years older than some of them. Most of them I was only 2-3 years older than a lot of them. And so there wasn't this huge age gap, and because my little brother Zach had a lot of friends growing up, I was used to hanging out with just all these younger kids always being around. So I just kind of thought of them as just other people to hang out with. So I wasn't always the best leader is what I'm trying to get around to saying. I was just kind of one of them, but maybe a little more mature.
Right.
And I think a lot of young youth pastors have to deal with that and struggle through that and figure that out. I know I'm going to go ahead and just put some dirt down on Pastor Vern. When he was a young youth pastor, he would wrestle with his kids. He'd get into fights with them. He had little man syndrome really bad. So if because he was short, because he's short. Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, he loved to take out kids. He thought it was fun to beat up other boys and prove that he was the strongest one of them all. And Mom was really embarrassed about it, but that was a thing. You know, you're young, you learn. When I was young in youth ministry, though, we did an all-nighter, and as you all know, I don't do the best with all-nighters. I kind of sort of shut down. This has always been the case. Even when I think I was even that way when I was a teenager, wasn't I? I'm worse now.
Yeah.
But I would always start
Now
to
you have
tire
a,
out.
You have a designated shutdown point.
Oh, I do.
It's quite amazing to watch.
It is. Yeah, you get a kick out of it.
I do. It's,
Many of you guys
it's-
probably witnessed Jordan giggle
Yes.
while when he witnesses the moment where Ty's no longer
Just-
functioning. Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
almost like a switch.
Down.
Yeah.
It's true. My body just finally goes, nope, it's time for bed. Go to sleep.
My most memorable moment when you're sitting over by the fire and you go, I just saw you go. And I was like, there it is. There it is.
This is
the tie switch.
This is
has
the
been
main reason we
turned off.
don't do many all-nighters. It's just because I don't do that well at them.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I always want to make sure I'm at my best. That's why I space them out so much, so I can make sure I'm well prepared to do one. But I struggle with it.
You just have to have support with you.
Yes, if I have a lot of good
so,
help.
so when you go down, people can be like right there to
be right there to fill
pick
in.
up pick up
Yeah.
the slack.
I need to rely on you guys more,
Yes.
just to kind of let you carry the torch, and
Yes.
then I can just sleep. But so there was one of my early all-nighters though into youth ministry, and probably my first. It might have even been my first one I did. And I have a thing where it's not a good idea to wake me up in the middle of the night. Becky will attest that I am a horrible person if woken up in the middle of the night. I'm just immediately angry, immediately cranky, and I'm very spaced out. I'm not thinking rationally. So if we're ever at a youth event, you have to wake me up. Only do it if it's an emergency,
Yes.
because otherwise you will reach.
Tie.
And unfortunately, one of my students found that out the hard way. We had the all-nighter, right, and I was going to sleep. I told them where I was sleeping and said, if you need anything, I'll be over here. And
Maybe you shouldn't tell them where you're sleeping.
just go hide somewhere.
And
So-
say, wake this person up instead of me.
So I went there. I went to my little corner. I went to sleep, and I don't know how long I'd been asleep, but all of a sudden I wake up to the most horrendous sound in the world. It's this. That's what woke me up. Have you guys ever seen those monkeys with the pull string, and you pull back and you aim it and you launch it, and then they scream as they fly through the air?
I don't remember these.
It's a real thing. So it's just a little
Must be
stuffed monkey
fortunate.
about this big, compared to be about this big. It has long, lanky arms and long, lanky legs, and it just has a drawstring that's like a rubber band, and then you just launch it. So it's not like normal toys where you pull the string and then you let it go and it just goes. It makes the sound. This one launches. It makes the sound. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to be like it's screaming as it's flying through the air.
I'm not sure this is a normal toy.
I think it is. I think it.
No,
I
I'm
think
just
it was-
saying. Normal. Who goes out and buys a monkey that screams and launches?
I
That's
don't
what
know,
I say. Normal.
but this guy had one, and he launched it in the middle of the night, and it hit me and woke me up. And so I did what any rational person would do. I grabbed the monkey. I didn't say a word. I just want to say I didn't say a word the whole time. I just grabbed the monkey, kind of with these sort of hands, where I'm squeezing what little life this animatronic monkey had. I'm squeezing the life out of this stuffed monkey, and I look at the guy, and and then I walk over to the kitchen. I grab a kitchen knife. I gut open the monkey. I grab the wires out of it, rip them loose so that all the wires tear out. I throw the voice box of the monkey in the garbage can, then toss the monkey back at him and go back to sleep. I lost my temper. I wouldn't advise doing that. The kid looked so traumatized. I will never forget the look on his face. It was just like, which, I mean, I would make the same face if
Yeah.
someone did that to me. I destroyed his toy and his Christmas joy, because it was a Christmas present that he got. So that's one time I let my temper get the best of me. I had that similar problem all throughout college. If any of my roommates or one of their friends woke me up in the middle of the night, had a similar reaction. I don't know what it is, but if I'm woken up in the middle of the night, it's just immediately just. And that's the thing, though. Usually, when you lose it, it's either because it's been building for a while and you finally reached your boiling point, or you're caught totally off guard. I feel it's one or the other.
Yes.
When you lose your temper, you're either going to explode because it's just been building up, or you're just visceral. Like, it's just immediate reaction.
Right.
Like, there's just raw emotion, raw response. It's just like, bah! Like when someone steps on your toe and you scream.
Yes.
Like, it's just like you're
Yes.
not even thinking. It's just what you do. What do you do, though, when you say something, when you lash out in anger, and it has dramatic consequences.
Right.
You said something that you can't take back. You've done something that you can't undo. Well, you've done debated yourself.
Yes.
Pull up the title card. That's what brings us to our series. Our series again is called I Debated Myself, which is a meme that basically refers to when you troll someone. It's called debating them. You've led them on and you've kind of manipulated them, and then you're like, but it turns out you're just messing with them the whole time.
Yep.
It's like you're trolling. You're fishing, like you're reeling them in for a joke, and then you catch them. But the phrase refers to when you go like, I see,
Wow.
you're trolling me. It's when you realize you're being trolled.
Yes.
Well, our biggest enemy and our biggest troll is ourselves. I am my worst enemy. You're your worst enemy.
Yes.
So that's why we call it I debated myself. Because how many times have you accidentally trolled yourself or made a decision and realized,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. You done debated yourself. So we're talking about those times specifically where you get angry and you mess things up. You done trolled yourself.
Yep.
And you made life a little trickier, a little more complicated, and
It didn't need it to be.
or you hurt someone, or yeah, we've all done it. We've all been there. So let's talk about that. Okay, we're talking about Mad Moses, and I called him that because Moses has a bit of an anger problem. We remember him as a prophet, a man of God. I mean, who's Moses to you? What do you think of when you hear the name Moses?
Well, he set his people free.
He set his people free. Pharaoh, Pharaoh,
Yes.
let my people go. That
Yes.
song exists. On the internet.
What else? He led the people through the promised land.
Led the people through the promised land. He walked between an ocean,
Yeah.
as in the ocean parted.
That's quite a bit.
Two walls of ocean on either side, him and his merry men,
Yeah.
as they traversed,
Nice on.
as they traversed across the great blue. Yes, we're talking
I
about.
thought it was red.
Hey! Was the Red Sea red? We all know about Moses. Even if you don't know directly who he is, you've heard bits and pieces. You know, you're all familiar with the idea of the ocean getting parted. There's the plagues that went on Egypt. Egypt suffered all these plagues because they wouldn't listen, and it's just this crazy story.
Right.
But through the midst of it all, Moses has a bit of a problem. And it all starts in the beginning when Moses is but a wee strapping lad. I should have said it that way. I was saying adding strapping in the middle of it made it sound strange. He's but a wee lad. Okay, not a wee lad, he's a young man.
You gotta make up your mind.
Why,
Stop
That you
why
and
can't
you
I?
you
Why can't
you
I
would-
just
you
keep
could
flip
you
flopping
do
back and forth?
you,
It was like, can I just go down a list of like? Can I just open my
I
thesaurus?
thought of like Hercules when you said "wee strapping lad."
this big man.
Oh, he could have been small, just totally ripped
Just
out.
ripped. This was before he had the beard, before he was old, like he is in every picture. This is when Moses was a young man. He's walking along, and the story of Moses is that he was born an Israelite, born a Hebrew,
Right.
and he was adopted by the Egyptians. You know, at the time, the Egyptians decided there were too many Israelites, so they were going to kill all the babies. Moses' mom thought he was a pretty handsome lad, so that's basically what it says. She's like, this is one beautiful baby. It'd be a shame if he died. I don't know.
This is the only reason why
I was kind of funny how it was worded. I think it's saying like she saw the baby and was just like, I can't let my baby die.
Right.
I think is the idea.
Right.
So she puts him in a basket. He puts him down the Nile. Moses' older sister sees the whole thing and kind of watches to make sure he's safe. And then an Egyptian princess finds Moses and is just like, oh, it's a baby. I'm going to adopt the baby.
It's such a baby.
And so she names him Moses, and Moses is, first he's raised by his birth mom because the Egyptian princess is like, I'm a princess. I don't need to do all that gross mama stuff. I want to give her to someone else. So it just turns out that Moses' mother was nearby, and so Moses is raised by his mom for the early years of his life, then handed over to the Egyptian princess. And Moses is raised a pretty privileged life. He grows up basically as an Egyptian prince.
Yeah.
That's why there's a movie called The Prince of Egypt. It does take some liberties, I gotta say, though. It's not 100% accurate.
Right.
It's a movie. They gotta have some fun with it. So, he grows up pretty privileged life, but he starts to notice that the other Israelites are not as lucky. They're slaves.
Yeah.
The Jews, the Israelites, the Hebrews, whatever you want to call them, they're slaves at this point in time. They're slaves to Egypt. They're whipped and abused, and they're ordered to make pyramids and structures and work around. It's just hard work all day long. And Moses starts to observe this, and he's bothered by it. And it comes to a boiling point when suddenly Moses sees, all it's described as an Egyptian was beating an Israelite. And Moses, it says he looks to the left, he looks to the right, and then he marches over and kills that Egyptian man.
Just like that.
Just like that. Kills him, buries him in the sand. It's like, we're all good here. I've done my
Nice
business.
on.
Life is good. I saved an Israel man, and this is good. And like no one knows, no one's the wiser.
Yeah. No one will know about him.
Next day, the Israelite man he saved is just like, dude, you killed a guy yesterday, and so you shouldn't be telling us what to do. And then all of a sudden Moses panics and realizes, oh no, everybody knows. Everybody's on to me. It's out. And the news is out. In fact, Pharaoh issues an order for Moses to be killed. He's just like, this man's a murderer now.
Yeah.
Moses is actually a murderer. We kind of overlooked that part a lot. Moses killed a man. Sure, Moses still straight up leaves Egypt. He flees, he runs into the desert, and
Comes a wild man.
becomes a wild man. He joins like a shepherding community of people. He settles down. He gets himself a wife. He has some kids. Years and years and years pass, and all of a sudden, God appears to him in a burning bush, as you do.
Yeah.
Moses just walking along. There's a bush. It's on fire.
On fire and talking to me.
It's on fire. It's talking to him, and Moses is just like, well, the first thing Moses notices is so. Usually, when you see this bush like drawn in like a movie or in a book or wherever you see a picture of it, it's like all old and gnarled, and it's like it looks like a burnt bush. But it describes it that Moses saw this bush and he noticed it wasn't being burned, and that's why he approached it. So basically, this is a big green bush, probably, and it's just on fire.
Right.
And Moses is just like, what in the world is going on here? So of course, wouldn't you get a little closer just to see like what is going on? Why is this bush? Like, if you just walked outside and saw like a tree on fire, but it wasn't actually burning, you're like, what? Is it a hologram? Is that a effect someone's using? What is that? Is that decoration? Am I seeing this wrong? You get a little closer, and it turns out God is there. And God speaks to Moses and tells him, hey, you're going to save Israel, so go and do it.
Cut off right there.
There's a long conversation because the whole time Moses is like, wait, stop. No, I don't know. Moses tries to talk God out of it, and God's just like, don't worry, it's fine. I'll take care of you. I'll be there. It's all
It's fine.
Long story short, God talks Moses into doing it. Moses goes. Let's just go ahead and bridge this part of the story because this is the part most people. Yeah, we're fast forwarding. Moses goes to Egypt. Pharaoh, he goes to Egypt and says, "Let my people go." Pharaoh says, "No. I'm not going to let your people go. They're nice slaves. I like my slaves. They do my work for me."
Yeah.
And so then this kind of back and forth starts between them, and God sends plagues down on Egypt to let them know, like, "Hey, let my people go. Stop oppressing them."
Let them go. No, okay, have a frog.
Okay, here's frogs, here's some gnats, here's some bees,
Not the
I don't know if there's bees, but there are flies, there's gnats, then they start getting boils, and
Fine.
and things just keep getting worse and worse and worse until finally it just gets really bad, and eventually the Pharaoh's finally like, fine, you win, take it all, take everything, get out of here, get out of my back up. They leave, and while they're on their merry way, following a giant tornado of fire during the day. That's what it says. It says in the distance, God led them by a big tower of fire in the distance. A pillar of fire just was like from heaven, just pointing to where they're supposed to go. And then that was at night, and during the day it was a giant tornado, just a big tornado spinning in the distance. And they were like, that's where we're supposed to go. They're just following where God's telling them to go, and then all of a sudden, back in Egypt, Pharaoh goes, I let my slaves go. And so he wants to go and kill them all now. Go figure.
Yeah.
So
It's just like,
by the time
hey,
Pharaoh,
that was my favorite slave.
That's
I
my
want it
favorite slave.
back.
I want him back. So Pharaoh and his armies, they all suit up and they go after the Israelites. They chase them all the way to the Red Sea, and most of you probably know this part. The sea parts. They walk across on dry land. The Israelites, and as soon as they cross, the Egyptians show up and the waves go. And that's
They're
it.
still there today.
They're still there today. The Egyptians lose. The Israelites are free. And now, happy ending, right?
Right.
Wrong! It's not a happy ending because it just so happens that the Israelites are a bunch of whiny, complaining, sniveling, backstabbing load of pain in the necks. And Moses has to put up with them. Immediately, as soon as they escape the Egyptians, they start going, we're going to die out here in the desert. We had it so good in Egypt. Do you remember when we had food?
Remember when
could
we
drink
were
water?
whipped
I know,
and
right?
killed?
We forget when they were their firstborn children were sacrificed to crocodiles.
And ground up into the pyramids.
Exactly. Conveniently. They forget all those things. They're just like, God let us out here to kill us. It's awful. And Moses is patient with them at first. He tolerates them.
Yeah.
And he leads them to this mountain. And God calls Moses to go up this mountain. And so Moses goes up this mountain. He meets with God. And it's this really cool time where God just has this really personal one-on-one conversation. He teaches him all these things. He's telling Moses, like, these Israelites, this is what they're going to be. They're going to be my people, and I have this plan for their government, for their society, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to bless them, and they're just going to become a great, powerful nation, and it's going to be wonderful.
Right.
And he's telling Moses all these things, and then he gives Moses, God just does his little DIY stone tablets with 10 Commandments on them. God himself handcrafts them.
What about the part where he actually sees God? Just a little bit.
Moses sees a glimpse of God, even like he not directly. It's just like a little part of God because God says, I'm sorry, man, you can't see my face.
Yes.
It probably would kill you. It's not a good idea.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it like hurt him a little bit to do that though?
Well, when Moses sees the backside of God, he comes down from the mountain with his face glowing, and everyone's like, cover your face, it's scary.
Right. Right.
But before that happens, before we get to that part, Moses actually comes down the mountain before that.
DIY.
He comes down the mountain with the 10 Commandments.
Right.
Right? Not yet. That's
Oh,
not-
okay.
He actually has to go up the mountain again later.
Oh, okay.
And here's
Gotcha.
the reason why he has to go up the mountain again. He comes down the mountain with his 10 Commandments, and he just had a wonderful time with God.
Looks
I-
upon his people.
Now, I want to say, while he's been up there, it's been 40 days.
Yeah.
Moses went up this mountain, didn't tell his people what was going to happen. He just went up the mountain, and he's gone for 40 days. Now, the people down in the valley get a little restless. And
a little restless.
just a little, and they just do the most logical, reasonable thing anyone would do when your leader doesn't return for 40 days.
Yeah. That's logical.
They melt down all their jewelry into a golden calf and say, "This is the God that led us out of Egypt. Let us sacrifice
Nice
our children to
on.
it and all have sex together." I'm sorry.
Well, hey.
I probably went a little too graphic with that. I didn't mean to, but that's what
But it's
happened.
in the Bible. Though.
That is what happened.
You know, it's
Things quickly got out of hand. It turned into a rather disturbing
there. Yes.
situation.
We'll go disturbing. No more than that.
Yes, it was, yeah. And so Moses comes down from the mountain and sees this madness, and he, very reasonably, but also, he takes God's handcrafted stone tablets that God himself wrote on, and he throws them on the ground. He's so mad. He just goes, "You fools!" He doesn't
You've
actually say
broken
that.
every one of the commandments
Exactly.
that are on here, and plus one that's not I haven't even read yet.
He takes the commands, he smashes them on the ground, and then he's like, "Oh my goodness!" And it's just, yeah.
It's bad.
Moses lost it. Now, Moses had a right to be angry, but I don't think he should have taken it out on God.
Yeah, that's
God made those just for
I mean,
you, and
yeah.
you just broke them on the floor.
yes.
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 Maybe Moses was justified in that, though. I mean, I understand, and God doesn't act. There's a price to pay. These Israelites, for going crazy, there's a heavy price to pay. A lot of them are killed from it.
Don't they get swallowed up in the ground?
Not in this one. That's from another crazy.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I think you're.
I'm
we're getting the
I'm
picture.
crossing. I'm sorry. Sorry.
There's a lot of moments where the Israelites do some really stupid
Okay,
things, and
I'm
they don't
sorry.
listen to God. And
I'm sorry.
yeah. So it's an ugly situation. This, like Jordan, you just pointed out, this kind of thing just keeps on happening.
Yes.
Moses has to deal with these guys the rest of his life, and they just keep doing one dumb thing after another.
They make them
They
just
just-
older and
He gets older and older.
I think if he wasn't with him, I think he would have been a young man. I think it
His
would
whole life-
his beard would have not been
Well,
nice and brown and
Well, it
lush.
describes. So when Moses does finally pass away, spoilers, I guess.
Yeah.
When Moses does finally pass away in the Bible, it says that he was still young, like he was strong in his old age. Like he was still like very had a lot of vitality to him. So it was just like, wow. I think just the stress of the people.
Yeah, he
overtook
just
him.
got crazy and weird.
He was 120 years old, and he said he was still strong and like full of energy. But I think just the toll finally got to
Yeah,
him.
just like
'Cause-
I can't do this no more.
Well, and here's the funny thing: it builds up because they just keep doing one thing after another, and God just has to keep punishing them. And if you think it's unfair that God's treating them this way, let me paint you this picture of what God's doing here. God made a promise to Abraham that he would make him a great nation, that from Abraham would come a great nation. That's what Israel comes from. He said they would be God's people. And Abraham was like, yeah, of course, that's what I want. So God is honoring his promise to Abraham by protecting these people. So that sadly means if he's going to protect these people, that means some of them aren't going to make it if they're going to hurt everybody else.
Right.
God loves his people so. This is something that's kind of hard to understand, but God loves his people so much that he will do anything to protect his people. And that means sometimes those who are going to tear down his people are going to have to pay a price. God won't let other people ruin what he's doing. So that's why there's a passage in Romans that says that if God is for us, who can be against us?
Right.
When God is for you, he has your back. And that's why God punishes the nation of Israel, is because there were people in the country, or there was a future for these people who would serve God, who would honor God, where good things would come from them. But there was also a lot of them that were just monsters. And they would have tore down everyone else with them.
Right.
And so sadly, God had to deal with that to protect his people. So it's an ongoing story. You know, God says, don't do this. They do it. God says, don't do that. Like, but we want to. God says, go to this place. It's safe. And they're like, it's not safe. There's giants. And they start whispering the word to everyone. They turn everyone against Moses and make everyone hate Moses and fear Moses. And they're all going, we were safer in Egypt. And God says, fine, you don't get to go to the promised land that I was going to give you because you don't want to go. And then they're like, no, wait, we changed our minds. We want to go. God says,
Nope.
I already
Out to the
said
desert
no.
you
It's
go.
too late. But guess what? They say, you know what, we're going to go in there anyways. And a bunch of them die because God told them not to go now. It's an ongoing thing. And Moses just puts up with this year after year after year. And sadly, Moses finally cracks. And it starts, before he actually breaks down and does something wrong, he says this line I have to read to you because it's just perfect. I don't have it up there. But
Indulge us.
I'm just going to give you this quote from Moses because it's amazing. So the people are whining again. And Moses says this. Moses heard all the families standing in the doorways of their tents whining. This is actually in the Bible. It says that.
Whining.
Yeah, it literally says whining. And the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also very aggravated. And Moses said to the Lord, why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve the burden of all these people? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into the world? Why did you tell me to carry them in my arms like a mother carries a nursing baby? How can I carry them to the land you swore to give their ancestors? Where am I supposed to get meat for these people? They keep whining to me, saying, give us meat, give me meat. I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery. Moses had it up to here with these whining, annoying brats of people. God had led them out of one bad situation after another. Because I want to say he hasn't led them just out of the Egyptians. He gave them like bread from heaven while they were in the desert. It's called manna.
Yeah.
He he chased off armies that came in and tried to kill them and take advantage of them and kidnap their children and their women and their animals and all their stuff. And God just kept protecting them, and they just keep saying, and Moses has just had enough. But it hits a boiling point. Like, so that captures your feeling of, like, I mean, that's actually in the Bible. You can read it for yourself. It's in Numbers.
Whining.
It's in Numbers chapter 11. Moses has enough. And it finally builds up to this point where God tells Moses, these people, your people, they need some water. We're in the middle of a desert. Go and speak to this rock, and water will come out of it. It'll be a miracle. Just tell the rock, water come out, and water will come out of it. And so Moses, he's just ticked. He's had enough. He's snapped. Moses walks up to the rock in front of all the people, and he takes his staff and goes, whack, whack, whack. It says he whacks it twice.
Wax it.
Because God clearly told him, speak to it.
Talk to
so
the
you
rock.
know that
Don't beat the rock. Talk
you
to the
know
rock.
he's angry because instead of going, water, come out,
Yeah.
he goes. It's like when
Oh,
it's like when you're
you've had
fully
it enough.
you're fully tilted and you're in gaming and you just throw the controller.
Yeah,
or
flip
when
a
you,
table.
or when you can't get that craft project just right and you
Oh,
and you
boy.
smash the hammer into it.
Oh.
You know, any of those moments, Moses hit that moment. Unfortunately, when you are a leader of a lot of people, when you have a lot of influence, if you want to use the word, if you have a lot of clout to throw around, when you have when you have a lot of people looking up to you and you make a mistake, it has far greater consequences.
Yes.
There's a higher price to pay. Moses lost his anger in front of a whole nation, and he disrespected God in front of a whole people. And so God tells him, I'm sorry, Moses. For this reason, I can't let you into the promised land either. Moses, because he lost his temper, he now can't go into the promised land either. Because I don't know if I explained this in case you don't know this part of the story. The reason they're wandering in this desert is God promised a country for Israel. And he's leading them to it, but they just keep being rebellious, so they keep getting more years tacked onto being in this desert until finally the people are ready. And it takes a whole generation passing away before, and then a new generation coming up before they're finally ready. Because the new generation's like, we want to serve God, and we don't want to do what our grandparents did, what our parents did, and disrespect Him. Like, we see what happens.
Yes.
Like, so they, so long story short, I mean, not really short. That was pretty long. It's a long story. Moses' story it's a full story. It takes up Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. 4 chapters of the Bible are Moses' story, as well as rules and regulations for how God's people should live. It's like a mix of those two things. And so, at the end of the day, Moses is able to, he climbs a mountain, and he's able to see all the land that God's going to give to the people. God says, that's the country. I want you to at least see it.
Yeah.
Like, I know
You've
you
come
can't,
this far.
like, I know you're not going to be able to go there, but I want you to see it. And right on that mountain, Moses passes away. And it says God hid his body because everyone would have worshipped it because they were crazy.
Ah.
So God hid Moses' body. No one knows what happened to him. He's just gone. All they know is that he's gone now. But in any case, Moses never got to go to the promised land. The Israelites do eventually make it there, I will clarify. They do become a nation. God blesses that nation. From that people came Jesus. And, they're part of God's story of salvation, his story of working in the world and redemption. But Moses didn't get to go to the promised land. He didn't get to make it to the end goal because he let his emotions get the better of him. You could say he was justified in being angry, but that's too often how you make a big mistake. Is you say, it's okay. You know what? I put up with it this long. I have a right, to respond this way. And so Moses accidentally disrespected God in front of a bunch of people who are looking to him as the one example of how to follow God. Keep in mind, Moses is the one example. And when he breaks that has huge consequences. When we lose our temper, there's consequences. So, let's break this down, what happened to Moses. We told his story in great detail, gone through his many adventures. He lived a very full life, a very fulfilling life. I do want to clarify that. God still worked in his life even after he disobeyed God, and God still blessed him, and Moses still got to experience a great many miracles, and, so Moses' life wasn't totally ruined. But, so let's break this down. Let's start with this. What was Moses' dilemma? The dilemma of Moses. Well, Moses' dilemma was the people around him.
Yes.
Injustice.
Yeah.
Seeing injustice, in the first case, think about it, he's dealing with injustice again. Like when he murders the Egyptian.
Right.
He sees him abusing an Israelite, beating him. And so Moses acts, he has this visceral, this automatic response. When he sees this man abusing a fellow Israelite, he responds And-
without thinking.
without thinking.
Yeah,
about it.
he's just like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this.
But he goes too far.
Yes.
He goes too far. And that just seems to be the case with Moses in all these situations, because you see that like you could justify Moses, but at the same time he goes too far. Moses didn't need to break the 10 Commandments when he saw the people acting that way, because he just had to go up that mountain and get new ones.
Right.
Later God said, okay, go back. I'll craft you another pair of stone tablets. You know? So, that's his response, right? So, I'm drawing a blank what the next bullet we cover is. Is that where we're at? Okay. So why do we debate ourselves then? Well, the fact is, we don't think about what we're doing. We don't stop and take a breath. We don't pause.
Yeah, we act more than we actually like think about it. We go, and then
Yes. Even if you've built up this anger for a long time, when you're finally about to release it, you're not thinking to yourself, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Right.
You're just gonna go. You're just gonna blow your top. You're finally losing it.
Yes.
That's Moses. He there was nothing within him that told him, wait, calm down. Just turn back the dial. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, none of that. No, nothing to pull back. And that's why we debate ourselves ultimately. Why we troll ourselves and make a big mistake or hurt someone or say something that just makes our lives more complicated or miserable is because we don't take a moment to go, wait.
Wait.
We don't know how to slow things
It's
down.
almost like we need to stall out.
Yes.
Stalling out in mechanics is bad, but you know, in humans, we almost should have that ability to like.
Yeah, to just stop.
Oh, okay.
Because
Think
I mean,
about things.
well, and think about just other situations like Moses walks up, he sees an Egyptian beating an Israelite. That's a lot. That's fast. Things are going fast
Yeah.
already. So he's just automatic.
Yeah.
What about when you're just in an immediate situation where things just something like and you just lose it because it's almost like an automatic response,
Right.
like when someone steps on your foot and you scream. You know, sometimes it's just so quick. How do you slow things down? Well, there's this amazing story about Jesus, where that's where we're at. But we're going into that one. Just wait a second. We're going to the solution. Before we get to the solution. No, this I know. Trust me, this is a different little bit. I know. I tend to. I need to keep my notes because otherwise I confuse Zach.
He's wandered off the map.
There
There be monsters out there.
I'm sorry. I need to have my notes so I remember it. If I just have those words at least. That's all I need. I remember everything else. I just need that exact wording. You guys put up a lot from me.
It's fine.
Everybody does. But so there's this amazing story about Jesus where Jesus is just teaching, he's minding his own business, and all of a sudden these Pharisees come in and they just throw a woman at his feet and he's just like, she was caught in adultery. Like, first of all, rude.
Throw a woman at my feet.
Right? So you're just talking with a bunch of people, just telling them about the good things of God, and all of a sudden these guys just go, hey, look! Just throw a woman at his feet, like, she's committed adultery. What should happen to her? The law says we should stone. Like, it's happening like this fast. Now things are moving like really quickly. And do you know what Jesus does?
What does he do?
He drops down on his knees and he starts drawing in the sand. I'm not kidding. He starts writing in the sand. This actually happens. And they're still going like, and they're still trying to talk to him. They're just like, Jesus, this woman, she was caught, we need to stone her. And Jesus is just writing in the sand. Jesus just writing in the sand. And then eventually he looks up at them and goes, to those of you who, he says, I'm trying to remember the exact wording, like, he basically says, if you've never sinned, you can cast the first stone.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
and then everyone just kind of looks at each other like, oh.
Is it he who cast the first stone?
Something like, yeah. He who is without, yeah, there's the exact
See,
word.
we all get there.
He who is without sin cast the first stone, and everyone just kind of looks at each other awkwardly, because and Jesus just starts writing in the sand again. Just writing in the sand. And everyone's just kind of like, and they just all leave. They don't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, how do you talk to that?
Look how, I want you to look at this, I know, right?
It's just like, I hear Jesus, and also he's like,
First, he just stops, writes in the sand. We don't know what he wrote. He could have wrote anything. Who knows? He was just writing. All we know is he's writing in the sand. But what I want to point out is, like, look at how fast things are moving. And look what Jesus does. He just pauses. He just, he just pauses everything. All this high steam, all this craziness. He just suddenly pauses it, but he just does the weirdest thing you can do. He just drops on his knees.
what happens to the
starts-
poor girl?
She says, no, Jesus looks up and is like, sees that everyone's left. He goes, hey, so where's all those people who are condemning you? And she goes, they're gone. And Jesus says, well, I don't condemn you either. Go and don't sin anymore. And she's like, okay, yeah. Look at how Jesus does things. Now I want to pull this around to our example in the solution. And that's in James chapter 1. Oops, I have it right here. James chapter 1. Forgot to bookmark it. Shame on me.
Shame.
So it's probably already up on the screen. I lost my big TV though. I can't read it anymore.
Right.
James 1, starting with verse 19, says this. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires.
That's a good one.
We got to learn to slow down. We got to learn to put on the brakes. You need to learn to make a pause. Because sometimes we make the excuse like, well, what was I supposed to do? It happened so fast. Look what Jesus did. He just put the brakes on everything.
Yeah, and just
He just slowed everybody down. He just basically forced them to just kind of like, wait a minute. Let's just slow down. Let's just calm down. Let's just take a breath. Let's just wait a minute. And then he talks. And then he still just keeps waiting after that. And it resolves itself. Now here's the thing. We, in ourselves, we don't have this natural ability. I mean, look at Moses. He's considered one of the greatest men of God in the Bible. In fact, I believe I'm drawing off my memory, but it's in Exodus 33. Exodus chapter 33. It says specifically that Moses was considered a friend of God. God called him friend. You see that very little, that specific
Right.
wording. Now, we know from Jesus. Jesus says that he calls us his friends. But very specifically in the Old Testament, you don't see that terminology appear. God specifically thought of Moses as a friend. And it just makes you wonder, like, well, why didn't God let him in? Because God's fair. He's fair, and he saw that, and he wanted to make sure that all of his people got set a clear example and understood how everything worked. And I know it's complicated, and we can talk more about that later if we need to.
right.
But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But the fact is, Moses was a good man. But he just had this one weakness. This one weakness where he just couldn't control his anger. And you see that when we can't control our anger, we debate ourselves. We mess our lives up, and we make big mistakes. But so what I want to say, if you have let your anger get a hold of you, or you've let yourself lose control in a situation, you're not doomed. Moses' life God still was with him. Yes, but he did have to carry a price for what he did. And that's the fact. You have a price now. You already earned it. If you've already acted out in anger, there's just a price, and it can't be undone. There's a scar from it. There just is. But you can move forward. You can keep going. There is still a future for you. There is still a promise for you. There's still good things for you.
Right.
You will carry that scar, and it's going to hurt you, but you're not done for. You're not doomed. You're not ruined. There is something still ahead for you. There's still a way to work through things and figure things out. The key is to just keep moving towards God, to keep focusing on God. Jesus taught that we can't hold on to our anger because it turns into a bitter root that separates us from God. You can't have it's my firm belief, and you got someone might disagree with me, but I firmly believe this just from reading the Bible, that if you have any bitterness or anger in you that just stays there, like towards somebody, you'll never really love anybody, ever. Because there'll always be a side of you that's waiting to be angry at them, to be bitter at them. As soon as they make a mistake, as soon as they do something wrong.
Right.
Because the reason I say this is I've seen it time and time again. I've seen people, I've known people personally, friends, people I called friends, who would always share like, I'm really bitter towards this person in my life. They did this wrong to me, and we're like, well, I'm sorry, and that's hard and that's difficult to work through, but you gotta let it go for your sake. But they couldn't, and you know what happened eventually? They started turning against the other people around them. I've seen it time and time again. More than once, more than one family, more than one group. I've just seen so many groups of people, they start turning against everybody around them because bitterness spreads. It just does. So you can't hold on to anger because it's going to infect every relationship, every friendship.
Right.
It's just gonna. It's just how it works. I wish it didn't. Because, you know, it is wrong what some people do to us. Like we said with Moses, you could argue he was justified in being angry. But you can't let it get the better of you and ruin your life. Just because someone else did something wrong doesn't mean it has to stick with you forever and tear apart your life. That's why James teaches to be quick to, and that doesn't mean just to the people. That also means quick to listen to God. Slow to speak and slow to anger. Because here's exciting truth. We actually are better off than most because of Jesus. I know it kind of seems random that I brought this up, but my grandpa would always send my dad into a timeout first. And then before saying anything, like whenever my dad got in trouble, he'd send him into a timeout in his room, and grandpa would go into his room. Probably to let off steam. Because he was probably angry, more than likely. And then grandpa would come in always really calm. And so that's how dad knew. It's like he had to be
That's
letting off
probably
steam.
really scary if they're
Probably.
if he's really calm, they're like, oh no.
Oh no, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Grandpa would always come in really calm, and he would always say, "Now listen, this is what you did wrong. This is why it's wrong, and now I'm going to have to spank you."
That sounds
Yeah.
terrifying. But you're just like, oh.
But you
super-
learned your lesson.
You're super calm, and you're like, uh-oh.
But you learned your lesson, didn't you?
Right?
I mean, how much more effective is that? Because Grandpa wasn't just like just
Yeah.
there. You have so much more effect on people around
Right.
you when you're calm and collected.
Right.
You just do. You also carry more weight. I mean, look at Jesus in that situation with all those people around him. When he pauses everything and then he says, "To him who is without sin, throw the first stone." That's all he says, and everyone just was like, "We're done."
Yeah. Well, how do you respond to that?
How do you
You're
respond
like,
to that?
You're like, well, yeah.
If you're calm, if you slow things down, you carry a weight in what you say. You're more effective, and you're just not going to get yourself in as much trouble. And sometimes maybe you have nothing to say at all.
Right.
Sometimes maybe you just need to shut your mouth. I can't tell you how many times in school people tried to pick on me because I was just kind of a quiet guy. And so some people tried, and I was kind of, I don't know, I would always just kind of let people have their way just because I didn't care. And so people would always try to take advantage of that, but because I was just, I always took the positive, like if I say anything or do anything, it's just going to egg them on. So I just wouldn't give them anything. I wouldn't just roll over on my back and let them run over me. I wouldn't say anything, and they eventually would just get annoyed and quit. You'd get bored. You just need to stop. You just sometimes need to pull back and go, let's just pause. So, if there's anything we can learn from Moses' story, one, if you have made a mistake, if you have lost your temper, if you have done damage you can't recover, it's not over. There is still a future. There is still a way to move. You don't need to despair. But there's also a lesson to be learned for whether you're in that place or not, and that's that you need to learn to be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. Learn to just hold off. I mean, how many times does someone just say something wrong and it just comes out of their mouth wrong, and your immediate response is, what did you mean by that? Huh?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? Like, slow down. There's all some, it's easy to do.
No, you're stupid.
It's easy to misread what someone's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy to misunderstand someone and then immediately assume the worst. Like, oh, they meant this.
Yeah.
And you just gotta slow down, be slow to anger. Immediately assume the best. And you know why I say that? Even if it's never the best, it's just gonna do you better. It just is. You're gonna feel better. Even if you're wrong, you're just gonna feel better if you're just like, you know what? Maybe they didn't mean it that way. I'm just gonna let it go. And even if they did mean it that way, I'm just gonna let it go.
I'm just gonna let it go.
I'm just gonna pull back.
I'm gonna be like the little duck with the rubber suit on. Everything just washes off of me. I'm gonna swim away.
And I'm just gonna swim away. Just keep on going. Just keep on swimming. Keep on swimming. What do we do?
We swim.
Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway.
Little Finding Nemo.
Wasn't expecting Finding Nemo
Yeah.
to come into here, but
Nice on.
Nice,
there you have
yeah.
it. That is the story of Mad Moses and what we can learn from him, learn from his mistakes.
And there's a lot more you can learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's
There's-
very big.
'cause there's
it's
a lot
very
of-
vast.
There's a lot of good things. I know we're focusing on the mistakes people made, but Moses did a lot of good, right things too. And there's a lot of good things you can learn from Moses too. We're just focusing on the bad ones for everybody. So if any of you are just like, man, there's a lot of jerks in the Bible, it's like,
It's not true.
they have a good side too. They're just people. We're all,
Yeah,
we're all
that-
jerks in our own way.
That's the big thing. It should be like, just people.
Just real people. It's true. They're not people who are over glorified. They're just real people. And real people got real problems. You know, we're all jerks in our own way. We all have our shortcomings. And the sooner we realize that, the better off we are. So, any thoughts, Jordan, on what we just talked about?
I think we covered it. I think we did a good job.
So that was pretty in depth.
Bravo.
Let's pray, and then we're gonna have a couple of announcements real quick, and then
Alrighty.
we'll wrap things up, and then we'll go into. I'm just kidding. We don't have listener mail.
I was like, what? Surprise me again with more stuff?
Listen-
You don't tell me about these
Time
things.
for listener mail. This week we received a letter from little Susie from South Carolina. No. Let's pray.
All right.
So much that you can make all things work together for good. Even when we've made a mistake, even when we have made a bad decision, you can still work in our lives. In spite of the scars, in spite of the hardship, there's still good things ahead of us. We don't need to give into despair. And Lord, I thank you that you teach us and you give us the power and ability to say no and just wait. You give us the strength we need to pause, to pull back. So Jesus, I just pray that you would speak to every person and you just give them the strength and the willpower. Learn to just take a breath, take a pause, and wait. Help us not to be so quick to just assume the worst or just get angry or lash out in rage or become easily frustrated or irritated. Or I ask that you would teach us genuine patience for our sake and for the sake of those around us. We're complete with you, Jesus. I just pray that this trait would just grow in us all and that we would learn from Moses' story and learn that we need patience. We need to learn to pause. We need to learn to reconsider before we explode, before we lash out. And I thank you again that you're always with us. Even when we do make mistakes, you're always faithful. You're always there by our side, and you never give up on us. Thank you that you're with everyone. Pray that you be with them this week, and that their week would just be fantastic. And we pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So, a couple of quick announcements. First of all, Becky has put together a quarantine scavenger hunt. If Zach, you could put that slide up on the bottom. Actually, if you could go to the one where it's the scripture slide, so like it's big and we're small. Yeah, I don't know. He's using like these scenes that change the way it looks on the screen. So, the quarantine scavenger hunt. So, when you enter this, you can win a $50 Amazon gift card. You get 5 entries for just participating. That means you find at least 5 of these things, and you get 20 entries in the raffle for completing.
Reset.
I feel like my brain is stopping. Like I genuinely feel like the gears are grinding to a halt. I apologize. I don't know what's happening. I don't think I had enough coffee. But
Ooh,
I don't know.
rough.
I think 3:30 in the morning is talking to me.
Yeah.
Babies. So 20 entries for completing and additional points for creativity and the amount completed. So the quarantine scavenger hunt, your directions are to find all of the items and take a picture as proof. Email the pictures to Pastor Ty at riversidelighthouse.org, and that, yes, send them all there. If you send them anywhere else, we'll probably lose them. Yeah, they won't count. We just won't count them. If I get them on Facebook, because I hate Facebook, I won't accept them. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I'll be honest. I do hate Facebook. But These need to go to my email. We want them all in one place. So this is on the Facebook page, of course, the place I hate. It's there on the Impact Generation Facebook page. You will find this post. It's a necessary evil. I just gotta keep telling myself, Facebook is a necessary evil. It's how I endure it.
Well, Becky's in charge of it, so you
true.
don't have to worry about it no more.
I don't run it very much, which is a wonderful relief to
I
me.
just use Messenger to send you funny things.
Yes, that is true. So all these entries, though, there's a list there on the Facebook page, the Impact Generation Facebook page. There's a list of things. All entries are due by May 20th at 12 p.m. What? That's next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. So go ahead, go out, find these things, take pictures with them. Did we say the more you have in a picture, the more points you get or something? Or is that something else? Oh, something else. Never mind. Forget that I said that. The main thing is if you're creative with your pictures. If you find creative ways to take pictures of these things, make it more interesting. I don't know how you do that, but if you have ideas, then you get bonus points for that. And if you complete everything on the list, you get 20 entries into the raffle, meaning like there's going to be a bunch of names in this raffle, and your name is in there 20 times.
Ooh.
So, I mean, it increases your chances of winning. So the more you do on this list, the higher your chances are of winning this raffle and getting that $50 Amazon gift card. Because why not?
Yeah.
It's just fun. We're just having some fun. Why not?
Why not?
Why not get it? You're stuck inside. Some of you have had to miss out on some fun school programs. I know it's not much, but here's an Amazon gift card, right? Why not? Buck is right. You said it, Toad. So, I hope, again, you've... I don't remember what I'm saying. See, the gears in my brain are literally
you're
grinding
starting to
a
gum
halt.
up.
Okay, final thing. We talked about last week about doing a Zoom meeting this week. The stars didn't align. I'm going to look into doing that again for next week. I'll message you guys if we're going to do it. You'll know the day of or the day before. I'll either send out the message in the morning or the day before. So if it does work out, the idea is that we'll be doing a Zoom meeting with Kahoot. And if you can't make it to the Zoom meeting, if you can't do that, you can still watch the live stream. So we're going to be doing the Zoom and the live stream separately. We'll explain to you how that works. I think I'm starting to figure out in my head how it would work. I just have a couple of things to figure out still. But I think I can make it work. Because I know you guys, when you're watching the stream, it's delayed from where we're at now. But I have an idea of how to fix that for the Zoom. So I think it'll work. It'll just be different. So I'll let you guys know if we're going to do that, and then we can communicate and get that all set up, and it'll just be a fun game we can play at the start of next week. So, you hear the frogs?
What are frogs? Right. What are frogs?
There it is. What are frogs? Thank you guys for coming out tonight. We appreciate you guys being a part of this, and we're glad we can speak to you this way, and we're hoping we can get together soon and meet up. Yeah, this is
Ghost Ride the Whip.
that was random, but why not?
Why not?
Let's be strong. We'll make it through this.
We'll get there.
We'll endure. We will survive COVID-19.
We will.
We will make it to the end of this. Pray you guys have an awesome week this week, and just take care, and hope to talk to you soon. And we'll say again, finally, I am on Minecraft every Thursday. I think Jordan's usually there too. Every Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Sometimes I'm on in the mornings, but just a word of just gonna put it out there. I probably won't talk with you if I'm on in the mornings because Madeline's asleep. Sometimes I'm on in the mornings though. If you wanna just play, I don't know. If you want to join in, we had a couple new members join the Discord and the server last week, so that was fun.
Nice.
We had Layla and Lorelai join in.
Yeah.
So if you want to join in on that, go ahead. You're welcome to. And if you are unable to join in but would like to watch in some way, like if you just want to, we can let us know so we can find a way to make that happen. But yeah, we'll be doing that again this week. I wasn't on Sunday night because it was Mother's Day, but we'll be on this week. So again, I'll put that out on the Facebook when we're going on and all that. And yeah, that's all I have to announce. So you guys have a great week. We'll see you again soon. Take care.